Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, everybody. I am going to try my very hardest to eliminate ums from my vocabulary today. I don't know if I will be at all successful. I've already slipped up once, but did it again. Okay. Maybe I should have practiced this beforehand. At any rate, we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. We're going to continue on with this a little bit, have a bit of fun with it. Okay, apparently not saying is not in my DNA, so we're just going to go moving on. We had a lot of fun with the controversial topics last week, and I really enjoyed hearing your opinions on things. There's so many aspects of travel, and when you leave your home and your environment, sometimes when you move to a new place, you've got to deal with other people, you're outside of your control. So it's interesting to see what are triggers for people and what are some of the touchy points. So here's our topics for today. And we do have some bonus topics that I've got at the end. But these are the ones we're going to start with. So this is a new one that has come up in the last few years, particularly for what used to be AM Resorts, which is now it's the Inclusive Collection by Hyatt. So Secrets, Dreams, Sunscape, Zoetry, Breathless, and I suppose now, Hyatt Vivid, as well as, Hyatt, possibly Hyatt Solara, Riviera Maya, Ziva Riviera Cancun, where they're allowing pets at resorts, small pets. So it's a maximum weight for each animal. But what do you think? Like, is this something that should be personally, I'm allergic to dogs and cats especially. So I find it, especially if somebody was in the room before, I don't care how much you're going to clean that, there's still going to be cat hair left over. So for me, that would be a problem, because instantly my eyes would be watering and itchy and runny nose and all that fabulous stuff that you want to experience when you're on vacation. I mean, it's bad enough when you have allergy season at home. For those of you who get hay fever, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But when you're also allergic to animals, then, that's a challenge. Hey, Angela, how are you doing? Angela is saying no to pets. Now, the other thought on that, in fairness, for those who are pet lovers, and I know some people who are, they love their pets, they love dogs, they love cats. But here's the thing, if you live in a predominantly cooler climate, 20 something, or, like 80, 85 degrees is kind of your average sort of summer temperature. And then you take your wee little dog into, let's say you take it to Mexico, take it to Cancun, you take it to Cabo, Puerto Vallarta, Huatulco, which is way down south at the bottom of Mexico, where you're so much closer to the equator and it's hot there. For that, I mean, it's bad enough for us as humans or as kids to acclimatize to that heat. So I don't know, is that fair to the animal? I mean, are they going to have lasting memories of running along the beach? I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll never know the answer to that question, but do you think that they should be allowed? I'm curious. Oh, Roxanne's here. Hello. Good morning. How are you? Yeah, so I don't know. Let me know what you think. I mean, so far, Angela said no. And if you're watching this later on, I still, do comment below, because it's always interesting to go in later and see the different comments. And I do get notifications. So if you watch this later in the evening, I will get a notification of what you've posted, and I can always respond to that. And it's always fun to get some interaction. And I did have a little clip here. There you go. I mean, okay, yeah, that's pretty cute, but still, would you have your dog on vacation? Oh, Tammy's got a comment. You're only allowed to leave the pet in your room for a short time, so it kind of affects the holiday. Yeah, that's a really good point. They do have pretty strong restrictions on where the pets are allowed. They usually have a little grassy area so they can, do their thing. But, you know, if you're going to take them and they're going to be stuck in the hotel room the whole time, I mean, I suppose on the positive side, there's air conditioning in the room so that it would be more comfortable. But if they're outside of their comfort zone too, what's the odds of them possibly, being a little bratty and wrecking the furniture, scratching the furniture, that kind of thing? That would be my concern. Angela's saying, I feel like allowing pets could open up resorts to issues. Yeah, for sure. Just because the pet's small doesn't mean they do not bite. Yeah. Well, and that's why I think, like I said, they tend to have designated areas for the dogs to do their business. So it's not like you're going to be walking along the beach. Well, I mean, but you might, right? I mean, who hasn't been to going and walking along the beach and seen a local with their dog? So it does happen. So as much as you enjoy the view when you're walking on the beach, looking down is also a smart thing, not only because of that, but also just with broken shells or glass that you might encounter, or even like bottle tops. If you step on those, that can cut your feet up pretty well as well. So best to be cautious. Okay, we're going to move on to our next topic. Oh, I've got another clip for you. Okay, and so topic number 2 is topless pools or beaches. So this isn't, I mean, there's a couple of resorts, there's a couple of resorts in Mexico that allow topless sunbathing. There's a couple of resorts in Mexico that are, there's some that are au natural, and then there's some that are basically for swingers. And that's exactly what you think it is. But for example, in the hotel zone, I believe Temptation Resort, and I think most of the breathless resorts allow topless sunbathing at the pools. Beaches are public, but public nudity is not allowed. So what do you think? Should these resorts be allowed to do this or not? I mean, obviously it's going to be an adult-only resort. But what do you think? I mean, it's tough now. 20 years ago, it was a different situation too, because people weren't walking around with, digital proof or the ability to have digital proof, and then post it all over the internet of you topless, and if you're, well, it doesn't matter, honestly, it doesn't matter what your profession is. If photos of you half naked start showing up on the internet, obviously that can affect a lot of things. So I don't know. Let me know. What do you think? Is it controversial? Should it be allowed? Should it not? Or people maybe should just use common sense and do what they like. Some people don't have a problem with any of that stuff. Personally, I would be mortified if somebody had a picture of me half naked. That would be not good. Moving on. Okay. Next one, similar, but not quite. This is more like about body shaming. So Oh, so back onto the animal one, so the grassy area. I think that unfortunately somebody would have the job of having to keep that area cleaned. Or perhaps the expectation would be that one would have to pick up after their pet. Hard to say. I mean, I don't know. I have seen the different signs where people say, where the hotels have said you're allowed to bring small dogs, and they consider this to be a great achievement. I mean, if you live in Texas, it's a short flight. You get to the hotel, okay, but as Tammy pointed out, you can't leave the pet on their own for very long. So unless you're I guess just going there and you're going to be working mostly from your room on Zoom calls and stuff like that, but you enjoy having the ability to go for a walk on the beach in the morning or whatever. I mean, whatever floats your boat. I don't know. It just seems like a challenge to me. Anyways, moving on. So talking about bikinis and speedos. Okay, let's not be gender specific. Whether you're wearing a bikini or a speedo, should this be restricted? Not restricted, but because nobody's ever going to say there's a rule that you can't wear a bikini. But if you're a plus size person, should you be wearing one? If you're over 50, should you be wearing one? Personally, I fall or have fallen. Yeah, I've lost a lot of weight in the last couple of years, but I would still consider myself a borderline plus size. But and I'll wear a bikini. Everybody knows that. Angelo, he's commenting as well. Hey, Angelo, how are you doing? Breathless had a dog run area. People were bringing their dog down to the pool area. Oh, I don't think that's supposed to be allowed. Interesting, though. And then Angela's saying they went to couples in Cam. I don't know where that is. I'm guessing that's a typo. That would be interesting. But like Aruba, no, not Aruba, St. Martin, if you were staying at, well, it used to be the Rue, now it's Secrets. Near there is the beach area, I think is called, or I think that's Orient Beach. And that's Speedo land for sure. Oh, actually, it is partly because if you keep walking along the beach further south, and this is all on the French side, but if you keep walking further south, there is a big sign that says you are approaching clothing optional area. And and I find that a lot of these places, it's people who have reached the age where they're comfortable with themselves, they're comfortable with their bodies. So it's generally older people. And they, just walking along on the beach and everything's just out there. But and Tammy, I'm going to share this story. I remember walking on the beach with you once in Puerto Morelos-ish, and we had to walk by, I forget what the resort was called, but it was a swingers resort. And I think I knew that it was a clothing optional / swingers resort. And we're walking along the beach. We'd gone to check out another property and we were walking back to our hotel. Blah, 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 blah. We're yakking away. Oh, what are we going to do? What time are we going to leave? And what? Da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden, Tammy looks up and she could see these two couples walking towards us, and they were buck naked. And she's like, oh. And she looks over to the ocean, and there's some guy coming out of the ocean, and he's totally naked. She's like, oh, can't look over there. And she looks this way, and there's all kinds of stuff going on over here. And it was like, oh, can't look. Okay. She's like, just tell me when we're past this place. It's, it's, when you don't expect it, it's like, what is going on here? So yeah. Okay, so Angela's saying couples in Jamaica had closed off nude area. Okay. So out of sight, out of mind. We've seen topless in Mexico with kids. Interesting. Europe is more of a normal thing. The US, not so much. Yeah, North America is a little bit more what's the word? Conservative when it comes to that. But interesting that they had the closed off area. Then it's great. If you want to, if you're of European, if you grew up in Europe where that was the norm and that's what you prefer, feel your boots. I don't have a problem with it. I don't care. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Tammy's saying, oh yeah. Beside the Azul Beach, which is now the Margaritaville, because now Azul Centauri is called Azul Beach. Why they keep changing the names and swapping them, I don't understand. But yeah, that's exactly where I was. Oh, they're thinking, yeah, they're playing volleyball on the beach. That's interesting. I mean, look, if you're no matter what size you are, and as you get closer to being super fit, I think you're even more self-conscious about, any little jiggly bits. And once you reach a certain age, that's just pretty much going to happen. I mean, there's some people out there that have very low body fat and they're super fit and lean, and that doesn't happen. But just when you're slowly walking, trying to make sure that there's no wiggly bits is difficult, but playing full on volleyball, I mean, that's confidence. That is confidence right there. And good for them. Good for them. Okay, next topic. No credit card, no travel. If you do not have a credit card, should the country allow you in? Technically speaking, if you look at the entry requirements for most countries, most of them will say that you have to have or have access to a certain amount of funds. But here's the kicker. Pretty much every hotel that you go to, is going to require a security deposit. And this is for things like anything that's not included. So spa services, because spa is pretty much never included with very few exceptions. Sometimes room service is extra if you're making long distance calls. I mean, you don't really need to anymore because we've come so far in terms of cell phone plans and eSIMs and stuff like that. But generally speaking, you're going to have to put down, or you're going to have to put down your credit card as a damage deposit, and also for damage as well. If you don't have a credit card, the hotel will often make you pay several $100s as cash, as a security against anything. So, but first and foremost, when you're entering the country, if the immigration officer decides to ask you to prove that you've got sufficient funds, then, and I mean, yeah, they're probably going to be fairly stereotypical about who they ask to provide proof. But if you don't, they don't have to let you in. And we've all heard horror stories of people who got into an accident or something happened and they needed to go to the hospital and they had to pay up front. I mean, that happened on a fam trip. What was it? It was before COVID, 2018, 2019, I forget what it was. One of my colleagues was, we had some free time and we were all kind of out. We were at the pool, at the beach, and she went out and she was trying to take I think she was taking photos or videos of the ocean and the sand and showing how it was free of sargassum. Well, as she was walking out there, I talked about this earlier, when you're walking on the beach, you enjoy the view, but you also look down. She happened to step on a shell that was broken, and it was right on the arch of her foot. And so she cut it quite badly. And of course, she was able to see the doctor at the hotel, who recommended that she go to the hospital because she needed stitches. And so she had to prepay for the ambulance. She had to pay for the hospital services, and she had travel insurance. Okay, so with her situation, whoever she had insured herself through, she was able to get all the funds back. But had she not had the insurance, it would have cost her, I think it was going to be $4,000 or $5,000 US. So that, can add up quite a bit. And if you don't have a credit card, are you really going to have 4,000 or 5,000? Well, I shouldn't say that. You might. And there might be reasons why you either choose not to have a credit card or that you just don't have a credit card. But yeah, I guess it's one of the things that a lot of people, certainly over the 20 years or so that I've been in the industry, there's definitely been a lot of people who have said they don't have a credit card. And so, of course, you try to prepare them for these different scenarios, and nobody ever expects bad things to happen, do they? I mean, come on, why would you? So yeah. Did you know that they can refuse you entry if you don't have proof of sufficient funds? Interesting item. Okay, bonus topics. We've got some fun ones in here, and these are going to be little scrolly ones. We're going to put them on the bottom of the screen. So, okay, timeshare presentations. If you have an offer of going to a resort, either a free stay, usually going to be 2 nights, maybe 3, a free stay or a discounted stay, should you have to is it appropriate? Sorry, I'm reading the comments as I'm going, completely losing my train of thought. Okay, so let's address the comment and then we'll come back. Okay, Angela's saying, never in 20 years used a credit card for deposit. Been to Rio, Dreams, Royalton. It's hit and miss. It really is. I've been to some Dreams where they have and other Dreams where they haven't. I've been to Dreams where I haven't been asked for a credit card for deposit. I've sent wedding groups to that exact same property and had people yelling at me because they had to provide a credit card or a deposit for the room. And although I had explained this and put it in the documents and stuff like that, but nobody ever reads these things. So they were upset because they were forced to pay a deposit. So like I said, I don't know if it's a stereotypical approach that the hotels take or what, but it's, yeah, it's interesting. Okay, she's saying, never knew this was a thing. Always travel with cash and cards, but luckily I've never had to use them except for what we wanted to buy. Yeah, well, that's the main thing, right? But better safe than sorry. So it's good to travel with one for sure. And also consider, especially if you've pre-booked a hotel, but you haven't paid for it, you're going to pay for it on arrival. Maybe consider having a backup card, because if something happens to your first one, you know what the credit card companies are like. If they think that your card has been compromised, they are going to shut it off like that. And I've been in Mexico before where they've said, "Oh, sorry, your card's done. We're going to have to get you a new one." It's like, well, this is a problem, because I used to travel without a backup card. Learned that lesson the hard way. So, you figure it out. But anyways, okay, so timeshare. What do you think about if you were offered to stay at a hotel for free or for a severely discounted rate, but you had to attend a timeshare presentation in order to receive that said discount or comped room? Would you do it? Personally, I've sat through 3 timeshare presentations in my life, and interesting, to say the least, in terms of the amount of pressure that those people have and that they apply to you as a potential buyer. They are so skilled in their sales pitch. It's actually a good learning if you were in sales. It's an interesting way, but they really do. They pin you down. They really put you in a corner. They'll make you feel. They'll make you feel stupid, or they'll try to make you feel stupid. They'll try to make you feel like, oh, you're ripping them off. Why would you, like, as happened to my friend? They basically sat through the presentation and he was like, no, I'm not interested. And the salesperson was like, well, why did you come here then if you had no intention of buying? And he's like, well, because you said we could. You offered us to come here, sit through your presentation and stay for free. So that's what we did. And he's like, wow. And he gave him a really hard time about it. Fortunately, my friend's got a pretty strong spine and just, that stuff doesn't bother him. But for some people that might. So it's kind of interesting. Angela's saying Mexico in April had to pay the new taxes and they would not take cash, only credit card. Okay, well, that's a pretty good example right there. I presume that's the visa tax that you are talking about, or was it the local, the environment? Is it an environmental tax? Tourism tax? Because there's a few different things. There's the one that you pay in Quintana Roo locally at the hotels. It's like $1.50 a night per room. And then there's visit tax, which is what you pay for visiting the area, and that's helping to pay for all the stuff that amazing stuff that they've been doing, such as the building the new bridge for the workers to be able to get to the hotels in the hotel zone on the Cancun Peninsula without impacting all the other tourism traffic around the peninsula. So that's going to be a huge improvement. The Mayan train, which I'm working on the video. It's coming out. I'm doing my best to get that video out this weekend because that's the story. And what else? Oh, the Tulum Airport. I mean, there's so much going on that they've really done a lot to improve the infrastructure in the area. So that's pretty cool to see. Bojangles, hello, how are you? Saying you'd visit for go through a timeshare presentation for a free stay. Not afraid of them. A hard no. Sat through one in Vegas. Wow. The gifts were a joke or junk. Yeah, we did one. Was it a Royalton? No, it wasn't a Royalton resort. It was one of the ones that Memories. It was a Memories resort in the Bahamas, on Grand Bahama Island. They used to have a Memories there, which is under this. It was a Sunwing owned all-inclusive resort. And I had a wedding group going there. And so I was at the property and I was curious about the timeshare thing. I'd heard some reviews and stuff like that said they were pretty harsh and stuff like that. So I was curious to see how it would go. So of course I dragged my husband along. Now, the person who was trying to get me to go to the presentation, she was pretty relentless. Normally, as I've said in my different videos, to avoid timeshare presentations, is if you say you're a travel agent, you do not qualify for the presentation. You don't qualify for free stays. You don't qualify for any gifts, nothing. Probably because we know we're going to call them out on all the garbage that they talk about in the presentation. But anyway, she said, no, it's fine. She says, I'll just write down that you're a teacher. I'm like, whatever. So I wanted to find out what the presentation was going to be like, how, hard it was going to be, that kind of thing. And we went we carried on our day, whatever. And, it was a nice day and we had a few drinks, lots of drinks, and woke up this morning. My husband was not feeling 100%. And we had to go to this timeshare presentation. And I remember, she took us on a tour of the resort. And I don't know how this woman could walk so slow in that heat. But seriously, it was like the slowest moving person I'd ever met in my life. And she was talking to us like we were children. And basically like, oh, we have this program and it's for VIPs. Do you understand what a VIP means? And I'm thinking, oh, she's got some clever thing. And she says, it means very important person. And I'm like, okay, this is how this is going to go. So she does her super long presentation and everything. And then we end up going to the sales place and we were sitting down and the sales guy comes in and he was so abrupt and so demeaning. And I thought, oh my God, like my clients are going to come here. And if they agree to this, they're just going to get browbeaten until they've basically spent $20,000 on this stupid timeshare presentation or on buying into the timeshare. The couple that was sitting beside me, they were there with their small child. She starts crying because the guy's just being so relentless and won't stop. And she's crying and the husband's like, and the kids getting all like fussy. And the husband's like, dude, we're not buying this, like enough. Just give us our free stuff and we're out of here. And I think they were getting loud enough that other people, and of course I was like, so, which I think helped. And so they let them, walk away. What was interesting is after all that, and I think we knew this ahead of time, is we were promised t-shirts and a bottle of rum. The t-shirts when we brought them home, they were super soft. They lasted maybe 3 washes and then they were basically falling apart. And the rum, we walked across the street to the Port Lacaya market and they had liquor for sale in there. And this was at, not official government store prices. So this is just like souvenir shops selling the ramen. It was like $12. So my husband was not very pleased that we had wasted all that time for a cheap bottle of rum and a couple of cheap t-shirts. The rum tasted good. It did taste good, even though it was cheap. But yeah. So sometimes I don't know if it's worth it or not. Though I think if you're able to be like, no, it's not happening, good for you. I mean, kudos. I can't do it. Just no. So Angela's saying this money that she paid, I thought it was like $35. That was at Rue Caribe. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Okay. Okay, so that's Intercontinental Hotels Group. Kept sending invites for 3 nights to various places for $249 or $199 for the hotel. Okay. Well, do I know anything about it? I know that a lot of the there's a bunch of hotels in Cabo that do that. The Pueblo Bonita, there's like 4 or 5 in that area that or Tammy, Barbara, if you're still on, let me know if you can remember the name of those ones. But they were always sending out very aggressive offers, usually like 2 or 3 nights free. You could add on extra nights for like ridiculously low prices. Usually were all-inclusive rates. But the thing is, the timeshare presentations that they would drag these people through were, I mean, you had to have nerves of steel. Like everybody I know that went actually ended up buying into the timeshare presentation. It was that aggressive. So I don't know. That said, I mean, there are some pretty amazing promotions that they have. Less so now, less so since COVID, because there's such demand for resorts that I think the offers aren't as great anymore. I mean, prices have gone up so much that if you can get in where you can get a discounted stay or something, then I think, you know, the offers that they're giving you to go to these timeshare presentations are a lot less. We were once offered almost, I think it was like $800 American to attend a timeshare presentation in Puerto Vallarta. Unfortunately, it was during the holidays and we were just heading home on the 26th and it was the 24th. And so the 25th, they weren't doing any presentations. So my friend was tempted to do it. He's the one who's got the nerves of steel. Because I mean, even back then, I mean, this is like 10 years ago, but even back then, the American dollar was worth a lot more than ours. So it's definitely worth it. Angela's saying she got suckered into one. Let me just get rid of this. Turned into over 3 hours, Royalton, and they were, oh, nasty to us. Oh, shame. Kept saying not interested. Of course, we wanted our vouchers that we had to fight for. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's really bad. And that actually what's interesting is what the guy who was offering us the $800 to go to the timeshare, and he was like, you know, whatever. He was in it for the money because they get paid. The people who are getting you to sign up for the timeshare presentation, they get paid if you agree to go. Doesn't matter if you buy. That's the next person's job, okay? So each individual step of the process, those people are getting paid or commission, whatever. And we were like, well, I don't know. Like we said, well, we're not going to buy into it. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. He says, it's not a big deal. And we're like, well, I don't know. They're pretty aggressive, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay. And so this is one of the tips that he actually told me years ago. And I've included it in my video about how to avoid timeshare presentations, or if you go to one, how to get out of it. Is basically, they'll always say, we'll come to the hotel and we'll give you breakfast, we'll show you around, you can hang out, blah, blah, blah. And he says, so you eat the breakfast. And then he says, when you sit down for the presentation, you just keep getting up and going to the washroom and be like, oh man, oh, what's this food? You're trying to kill me, man. I got food poisoning. And you do it enough times that eventually they'll just be like, okay, go already. Especially if you're being a little bit louder about it, because they don't want other people to think that their food is bad or anything like that. So that was kind of a funny tip that he told us. But like I said, he was in it for the money to get us to sign up. So yeah, sounds like extortion. Yeah. I mean, but it is what it is. You know that you're going in and that you've agreed to view the presentation. I think probably somewhere in the contract it says that you definitely have to be financially able. Like you have to be you have to be a candidate to purchase. So if you're going through bankruptcy, that's another thing that kicks you out of eligibility right away. But it's interesting. Yeah. I'm just saying, I think I'll just pay for my stay and forgo the timeshare. Look, I don't care how long they say the presentation's going to be. It's never going to be that long. If you're going to the presentation to get a free stay, usually what they'll do is they'll take you to some resort that is not easy to depart from. Okay. So for example, I know somebody's going, I forget who it was saying they're going to Secrets Maroma for a timeshare presentation. Well, Secrets Maroma, if you don't know, you drive along the highway and then you get to past Puerto Morelos, and then you go on this long windy road to get to where Secrets Maroma is. So when you want to leave, like they're going to have the taxis arranged and stuff like that to take you back to your property. But if you decide, okay, I'm done with this presentation, I'm leaving, it's not as easy for you to just get up and walk away. You're going to have to get up, go to the front desk, get a taxi, blah, blah, blah. So it's not like, oh, you could just get up and walk out of the room and you're done. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. And like I said, if they say it's going to be 2 hours, bank on it being at least 3, if not 4, and so then half your day is wasted. And what did you get out of it? I mean, if it's worth it, then okay, great. But to me, it's got to be fairly significantly beneficial. Okay, here's one. Bucket list and expensive trips. Should you book these whilst you're physically able to do stuff, or and before the age of 60, or before you're retired? And the reason is, yes, in those younger years might be your key earning years, but if you wait till you're 50 or 60 in order to do these big trips, for example, like let's say you want to do a bike and barge tour, or hiking through, Scotland or something like that, or you want to go and see Machu Picchu, or any of those, like anything that's going to require a bit of agility, that kind of thing. If you look, the older we get, the more things start to not go right. So, knees, back, ankles, whatever, you name it. So is it better to do that when you're young? And also, the reason I say age 60 is because once you hit 60, generally speaking, travel insurance skyrockets. So pro tip, if you're turning 60 in the next year or so, anybody who might be watching, you know who you are. Make sure that you buy your annual travel insurance before you turn 60, because that way you'll get in at the lower rate. You buy it before you turn 60. It's good throughout into your 60s, but you're getting it at the lower rate. And then when you have to renew it once you are 60, it will be higher. But that's just the way it is, So yeah, it's I think it's worth it to travel while you can. Well, if it's a trip that's going to involve a lot of walk, like even Chichen Itza. Chichen Itza is massive. If you want the smaller version, go to Tulum. Is it as overwhelming? and both in looks and size. No, it's totally different. It's beautiful. It's right on the ocean, but it's doable if you can't walk a lot or that far. Chichen Itza, man, you're gonna be walking all day long. And that place is massive. It's awesome in the word of just like it's almost it's hard to fathom how they built it, and but it's massive. Definitely, you got to see it. See it while you can walk around. See it while walking around in that hot sun isn't going to kill you. That's my opinion. But I know, like, predominantly people will wait till they retire to start traveling. But if you wait till you retire to start traveling, and then one of your parents all of a sudden is needing assistance, or your knees are stuffed up or your hips stuffed up, and all of a sudden your dreams of travel have been crushed. So I don't know. Angela is saying, hard when the workers of the resort try to get you to go. It's the resort going to. Oh, if it's a resort you're going to be at for the week, so you have to keep seeing the salesperson all week. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And there are a lot of resorts that the timeshare people, like, they will approach you endlessly. You know, you're lounging by the pool, they'll come and chat with you. You're walking on the beach, they'll come and chat with you. You're going into a resort, they'll come and chat with you. You're going to get a drink, they'll come and chat with you. They are relentless. This is how they make their money. So this is why right up front, I have always told my clients, just tell them you're a travel agent. Tell them you don't qualify. Tell them you're a travel agent. Tell them you're from Quebec. That used to always be a showstopper. Tell them you're going through a divorce. Tell them that you're going bankrupt or you're filing for bankruptcy. I mean, these are all really key things that make you ineligible. So I would say, yeah, just when it comes to the timeshare thing, just avoid it altogether. And once they know that you're not qualified to attend, they will drop you like a hot potato. Honestly, they will not waste any more of your time. So try it next time you go. Pick one of those reasons and tell them, and just see how well it works. I think you'll be pleasantly pleased. Oh, here's a fun one. This is one we always love. Okay, so you've chosen, you decide you're going to go on vacation. You've looked at a bunch of different resorts. You've chosen the right resort, or your travel agent has helped you to pick the perfect place for you, and you're not traveling with kids. You prefer to stay at an all-inclusive, adult-only resort, but you really like the look of this one, and it's family-friendly, so there's going to be kids around. But that's okay, because it's got an adult-only pool area. Perhaps other adult-only areas as well. So that's what you book. You get to the resort, you're relaxing, you're enjoying it. And this isn't just people who don't want to be around kids. This might be, maybe you're a mom and this is your first trip away from your kids, and seeing other kids around is going to make you sad, because you're going to think, well, first off, you're going to be sad because you're going to miss your kids. Second, you'll probably feel guilty because maybe you should have brought your kids. But you as a mom, you just want to be like, oh, okay, let's just be in an adult environment. Or if you're an adult who doesn't have kids and you're not used to being around that constant activity and noise and motion, maybe that's your reasons for choosing to be at the adult-only pool. And I'm not saying that some adults don't act like kids when they've had a few drinks either. Let's be fully clear about that one. We all know that we all can have our moments, right? But you get to the resort, you're relaxing at the adult-only pool, and then you see a couple arrive with their child at the adult-only pool. They've walked right past the big sign that says adult only. They looked at it, they looked around, and they chose to continue on. And they get into the adult-only pool with their child. What do you think? Should there be repercussions? I mean, most resorts are pretty good. They'll come by and they'll say, sorry, you can't be in here. But what if they come back the next day? Or they come back later in the afternoon and they get in the pool again? I mean, is this something that there should be repercussions for? Should they face a fine or something? I mean, if you go to a resort, there's no resort that you can go to in Mexico where you can smoke freely. There's designated smoking areas. I'd say 90% of resorts, you're no longer allowed to smoke on the balcony, which I think is great because smells travel. And if you're up 3 floors or you're down 3 floors or you're over 3 floors or over 3 rooms away from my balcony, if you're smoking, I'm going to smell it. And as a non-smoker, I prefer not to, aside from the whole secondhand smoke situation. But if you smoke on your balcony, you're going to get fined. So or at least you're going to get told off the first time you do it. If you do it a second time, you're probably going to get fined. And they usually are pretty clear right up front about what the penalties are. I believe it was $600 at the Riu Palace Cabo San Lucas in Mexico, in Cabo. So again, if you're second-time offender going to the adult-only pool with your kids, what do you think? I don't know. Am I just being extreme? I don't know. It's a tough one for sure, because then the resort for sure is going to get a bad TripAdvisor review. Not that I think most sensible people look at TripAdvisor reviews and take them with any kind of think that they're legitimate, because there's so many fake ones out there. But let me know what you think on that one with the adult pool and having kids going into it, and especially if it's somebody who does it more than once. If you do it the first time, sure, you can say, okay, I didn't know. But if you do it more than once, bit suspect, I think. Okay, my last one for you is extreme tourism. Yes or no? And with this one, I do have, oh, what happened there? Interesting. I do have a couple of little pictures for you. So if you're not sure what extreme tourism is, this is basically where you're doing adventure, thrill, tourism, that kind of thing. So for example, would you walk on this pathway? Or to get a great photo, would you take a selfie on someplace like this? Or for the views, would you walk across this? For me, that's a hard no. That's a hard no. But let me know. What do you think? Like, is it just me? Am I just being too timid? Tammy, not a chance. Honestly, you know what? Especially, I think this one. Where is the safety rail, right? I mean, this one, okay, at least, you got some chain that you can grab onto, but I don't know. Bojangles, not a chance. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I've done stupid things in my life for sure. I mean, we could do a whole program on that because yeah. Okay, interesting. Angela's saying just happened at the Rue in April. Younger kid, 12 years old, with a single mom and the mom's single friend. He was getting in the swim-up bar, throwing a football. He did it in a few days, or did it for a few days. Yeah, like, if you don't know, you don't know. But once you know, like, to me, that's just rude. But I guess, I mean, I don't have kids, so maybe I don't understand their argument for doing it. Maybe they figure they've paid for the resort as much as anybody else has, so I don't know. But yeah, the extreme tourism thing, like, I just think no. Yeah, it's maybe when I was younger, I just maybe, but I kind of doubt it. Like I said, I mean, I've done some stupid things in my life, and I could literally talk for an hour about tell you some stories. But you know, I'm here 50 years later telling the tales, and but I think now, you know, the older you get, maybe not, maybe it's just a certain feeling, but um, I think I've got a pretty vivid imagination, and I could definitely imagine things going wrong with this or this, and especially this. Well, actually, especially this one. That one to me is just like, I just think, imagine the woods wet, it's a little slippery, and there's nothing to grab onto, like nothing at all. Yeah, hard no. Yeah, it's not a good thing. Okay, Angela's carrying on with her story, saying no kids in the swim up pool area. Parents needed to take the kiddos to the child-friendly place. Yeah, definitely. Oh, but I missed one. Security finally told him to get out. His mom, young cute though, she talked security out of it. Oh, she tried to talk the guy out of it, but he wasn't buying it. Good, good. I mean, look, the hotel has to set some boundaries and some ground rules. So if they say you can't smoke here, don't smoke there. If they say no kids here, don't let the kids there. You know, I guess it's no different than going over to somebody's house. If they say, please don't smoke in my house, are you going to light up anyways in the kitchen? I mean, but I suppose it's different when it's, you know, the corporate, you know, then it's just a faceless entity, and people are more comfortable, I guess, breaking the rules. Personally, I'm not really comfortable breaking rules in a foreign country. Call me crazy. I don't know. Angela's saying not a big thrill seeker at all. Yeah. I mean, roller coasters, you know, sure. But even like the roller coaster at New York, I mean, okay, here's a stupid logic on that one. I think if you're at a regular theme park, there might be some grassy areas. If the thing goes off the tracks, maybe you land in the grass, maybe you live. You're just a little bit more smushed up inside or outside. But New York in Las Vegas, that thing's like on the corner of the street. You land, you're going to hit concrete. You're probably going to bounce, not in a good way, but I don't know. Yeah. Vacations for relaxing, sipping cocktails, and going to the beach. Oh, that's the scariest part of your adventure. Yeah, for sure. It's true. And actually, no joking with that one. You know, you do have to watch out on the waves and stuff like that, because what I think a lot of people would think is that it's always safe to swim in Cancun, or majority of the time it's safe to swim in Cancun. But there are some areas on the Cancun Strip, on the peninsula, that are that unfortunately have had some problems because there are riptide areas. So, you know, you always have to be, you know, if it's a red flag, don't go in. Pretty simple stuff, right? Yeah, so you do have to be cautious. And yeah, I mean, the beach, watch out for the glass. You know, again, enjoy the view, look down. Enjoy the view, look down. But yeah. So what do you think? Quick vote. Oh, and before we go to the vote, if you haven't already done a thumbs up, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, because and if you hit the bell, that'll give you notifications so you'll know when I'm live. But before I go, I'm curious if you enjoy talking about these sort of controversial topics, or if you want to stick with just travel news and stuff like that, or do you kind of enjoy this? I really enjoy hearing your opinions. Like I said, travel is a passionate thing. We know what we want. We know what we expect out of a vacation. And so, but what you expect, what I expect might be different. Last week we talked about who gets the middle seat in the armrests, different stuff like that. So Angela likes the topics. Cool. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you want to carry on with these, there's a lot of topics that actually I came up with this week that I haven't brought up. So we can do some more of those next week. Okay. I think whatever I was nattering on about between that and the response, I don't know what that is in relate to. Me either. Bojangles likes the different topics. Don't always agree. That's cool. You don't have to agree. I mean, but a lot of one of the interesting things that my husband said to me earlier this year is we were talking about different cruise categories and stuff like that, or maybe I was talking with Tammy probably about it, and it was like, oh, so if you book this category, it's the cheapest balcony, and there's like 10 different categories of a balcony cabin on a cruise ship a lot of times, and there's sometimes less, but there's going to be at least 5. But no different than when you go to a resort and you have a resort view room. Basically, look at it this way: when you go to a resort, if you have a penthouse, they're going to call it a penthouse, or a master's governor's suite, whatever. If you have a suite, they're going to call it a suite. If you have an ocean view room, they'll call it ocean view. Sometimes, if it's a peekaboo view from the balcony when you're leaning out across it, almost falling off, they will still call that an ocean view. Other resorts, if they're a little bit more reputable, will call that a partial ocean view. But nonetheless, they're going to make that distinction between that and a regular room. Then you might have a garden view room or a resort view room. If that's the lowest category, cautious. If it's the second lowest category, then what's the lowest category? If the lowest category is standard room, super saver, that's one to watch out for. But any of those basic ones, then yes, you might have a view of the parking lot, or the garbage cans, or the top of the air conditioning units, or something else that's not good enough to get a distinction as a better room category. So blah, blah, blah. So anyways, we were talking about this, and I think it was more to do with cruise ship categories. But if you didn't know all of that about hotel rooms, there you go. And my husband commented that, there's a lot of stuff that I just take for granted. And so this is part of why I'm here. This is why I have my channel, is to share this stuff so that you can be more informed and make your decisions about things. Like I said, don't have to agree, but at least this gives you the information. Take it for what you will, and maybe if it helps you have a better vacation, helps you pick a better room, helps you avoid stepping on a shell while walking on the beach, or stepping on dog stuff, then yeah. Bojangles is saying, Hyatt Vivid doesn't appeal to me. I don't like having to travel to the beach club, for an example. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and that resort, for that reason, is not going to appeal to some people. I thought that similar to the resorts in Cabo, where you can't swim in the ocean because of the perpetual undertow and tides and all that kind of stuff, that they compensate by having much better pool areas. And I thought that the Hyatt Vivid was their way of compensating was by offering a bunch of different activities. Unfortunately, they weren't there or happening when I was there, but I know in future they will. So it's a trade-off, right? But I present the information, you choose. So Bo, I don't expect you're going to be at Hyatt Vivid anytime soon, but at least you know what it's all about. So that's all I'm trying to do. Angela says she likes all the various topics. Cool. Okay, well, we'll keep doing a variety thing and just talking about travel, because that's what I like talking about. So I'm going to wrap this up this week. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks so much for all your comments and sharing your thoughts and opinions. It's really interesting to see these conversation stuff. Oh, Angelo, did the Serenity Bar open yet? I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I think a lot of stuff must be up and happening because there's not a lot of posts going on in the Facebook group anymore. So whereas at the beginning it was like, oh, this is open, or they're going to open this tonight. Mediterranean restaurant is open for dinner tonight. The sushi, the Japanese that everybody loved. I didn't like it, but everybody else seemed to love it. Everybody was posting a lot. And now, like, people don't even answer the questions anymore if you say, like, is such and such open? So I think it must be, and that people are spending less time in the group trying to figure out what's happening, and they're just there enjoying it. I don't know for sure. A friend of mine who was supposed to be going this week ended up actually going to a different property. It was between Hyatt Vivid and another one, and he chose the other one. Unfortunately, I don't have any first-hand updates for this week. But I do know there's a couple of people who've commented on my videos, and they are going in about 10 days' time. So, Alan, if you're watching, we're looking for information from you. Give us an update on the Hyatt Vivid situation and what's open. So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you have a great week and enjoy your week wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And stay tuned for a regular edited video coming up this weekend. And otherwise, we'll see you next Wednesday. So see you Wednesday, whatever that will be. The 12th, I think. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Bye for now.